Rockstar is releasing GTA 6 in 2026, hopefully. CD Projekt Red is returning with Witcher 4, thankfully. Naughty Dog is currently developing Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, shamefully. And studios like From Software, BioWare, Infinity Ward, Bethesda, Ubisoft, and Nintendo are all preparing for their next big thing. Each one of these studios has their own unique personality. Rockstar pushes boundaries and controversy. CD Projekt Red stumbles but bounces back with heart. From Software never compromises on challenge. And Nintendo, they just want you to smile and suffer. These quirks, these creative signatures make each studio unique. So I wanted to find out if these studios have always been like this since the beginning. What kind of games each studio made when they were just starting out. Whether they were always destined to become the AAA studios that they are today. To answer all these questions, I'm playing the first games ever made by today's AAA studios, starting from the most recent debut in 2007 all the way back to the very first in 1975. Some of these games you can't even play anymore, and to find out which ones, watch till the end. Let's start with the latest game on the list. The year is 2007. A small Polish studio named CD Projekt Red releases its first video game called The Witcher. The game opens after the climatic events of The Lady of the Lake, the final novel in Witcher saga. While Geralt seemingly perished, his journey begins in the plague-ravaged city of Wisma, where he aids King Foltest against the shadow criminal organization known as Salamandra. The Witcher 1 introduces an unconventional rhythm-based combat system that sets it apart from traditional action RPGs. Combats begin with a single click that triggers an auto attack or an animation, but mastery lies in timing the second click, precisely when a flame appears on Geralt's sword. This creates fluid combo chains that feel almost dance-like when executed properly. The system gains depth through weapon choices and combat styles. I can switch between steel sword for human opponents and silver blades for monsters, a mechanic pulled directly from Witcher lore. Three-dimensional combat styles can be toggled in real time. Strong style delivers devastating blows against armored enemies. Fast style excels against nimble foes, and group style provides crowd control for multiple attackers. While this approach is undeniably original, it feels repetitive. The automatic nature of the attack undermines the sense of direct control, creating a learning curve that doesn't feel rewarding. CD Projekt Red's inexperience shows in several areas. Cutscenes suffer from inconsistent voice acting and direction that occasionally flattens dramatic moments. The saving system is particularly frustrating. While the autosave exists, they are spaced too far apart, meaning a single death can erase 20 to 30 minutes of progress. This creates punishing loops that make manual saving essential for a smooth experience. That said, there is still a lot the game gets right. The game's musical score deserves particular praise. Ambient melodies accompany the exploration, perfectly capturing the world's somber beauty, while combat sequences feature dramatic tension-filled compositions. The soundtrack seamlessly complements the game's atmosphere, creating an audio landscape that feels authentically connected to the Witcher universe. Where The Witcher 1 truly stands out is in its approach to the choices. CD Projekt Red implemented a time-delayed consequences system where early decisions can impact alliances, character fates, or even major plot lines many hours later. Seemingly trivial side quest in Act 1 might echo across the entire game. Every decision carries weight, even when outcomes aren't immediately visible. Moral ambiguity plays a central role, with most conflicts offering no clear good side. The writing is mature, layered, and heavily influenced by Slavic folklore and dark fantasy themes. Despite the bugs, the janky animation, the long load screens, The Witcher 1 sold over 1 million copies. That success laid the foundation for sequels, spin-off novels, a Netflix series, animated series, and 3 more Witcher games. But that's nothing compared to how many games this next game gave birth to. Introducing the Call of Duty. It is 2003 and the very first Call of Duty launches, the debut game from Infinity Ward. At first glance, it looks like another World War II shooter in the vein of Medal of Honor, but Call of Duty does something completely different. It breaks away from a single perspective formula and tells the story of World War II through 3 different soldiers across 3 major Allied campaigns, American, British, and Soviet, each with its own tone, gameplay style, and emotional weight. As an American paratrooper, I play as Private Joe Martin, dropped behind enemy lines on D-Day. The missions are chaotic and intense, disabling artillery, clearing towns, fighting house to house as bullets fly. It captures the confusion and brotherhood of war. This isn't a solo hero fantasy. The squad matters, and the game makes that very clear. As for the British campaign, I play as Sergeant Jack Evans on stealth-based missions. I blow up bridges, sabotage V2 rockets, rescue prisoners, and I fought alongside none other than Captain Price in his first appearance. It's precise, tactical, and quieter, but just as deadly. And the Soviet story is the most brutal one. As Private Voronin, a Red Army conscript, the first mission begins mid-chaos, crossing the Volga under heavy fire with no gun, no weapon, just a clip of ammo. My dumbass even went back for a gun thinking they forgot to give me one. It's terrifying, desperate, and captures the harsh reality of the Eastern Front like nothing else. But Call of Duty isn't just about action. It changed how shooters felt. For the first time in major FPS, AI squad mates actually act like soldiers. They take cover, lay suppressing fire, and respond to what's happening around them. This pushed the genre away from lone wolf gameplay and toward immersive squad-based storytelling. Visually, it shows its its age, it is 2003, but the atmosphere still hits. The sound design, pacing, and level layout all hold up. It's easy to forget this game is over 20 years old, which is great design in action. And then there is Shell Shock, a game-changing mechanic. After a nearby explosion, the screen doesn't just shake. There is ringing in the ears, muffled sound, blurred, desaturated vision, and sluggish controls. It's not just for show, it's part of the gameplay. Earlier games may dabble in effect like this, but Call of Duty baked it directly into the experience, creating a moment of disorientation that feels both cinematic and real, which sets it apart from the other games of the time. Call of Duty didn't invent World War II shooters, but it redefined it. It told a broader, grittier story, gave multiple perspectives, and introduced ideas that shaped the future of FPS games. From the gritty trenches of World War II to high-speed races on walls, this next game comes from the makers of God of War. It's 2001, and Santa Monica Studio asks a bold question: what would humans and Transformers look like if they fused together? And to answer it, they released their very first racing game for the PS2, Kinetica. Kinetica is set in the future version of Earth's major cities, outer space, and some frictional locations in the Earth's distant future. 12 racers compete while wearing kinetic suits, which have wheels on the hands and feet, giving racers the appearance of motorcycles. Kinetic suits have the ability to scale walls and ceilings. The vehicles are capable of reaching terminal velocity and beyond, reaching speeds of over 350 miles per hour. But Kinetic isn't just oil. It plays surprisingly well. The controls are tight. The sense of speed is exhilarating, and yet it never feels out of control. The game constantly challenges to think in 3 dimensions. There's a unique boost mechanism that rewards creativity and risk-taking. Pulling off flips, spins, and mid-air stunts fills your boost meter. Time those tricks right, and I can chain them together for a massive speed burst, launching past opponents with style. Tracks are wild and vertical, full of jumps, corkscrews, tight turns that force me to master momentum, balance, and angle. Each character also has different stats. Some are faster but harder to handle, while others are heavier and more stable, adding replayability and strategy. Power-ups are scattered through the tracks, offering shield, mines, and offensive burst to slow down rivals. That said, it's not easy. The game gets brutally tough in the related circuits. To win, I had to really learn the tracks and where to trick, when to drift, how to bank turns, and when to use the terrain itself for a shortcut. It's got that early 2000s energy, flashy, fast, unforgiving, but fair. It was one of the very first PS2 racers to offer true online multiplayer, using Sony's network adapter to let up to 6 players compete across its anti-gravity tags, years before most console racers ever considered going online. In 2016, it made a comeback with a PS4 re-release, reminding players just how futuristic Kinetica really was. Kinetica is not just Santa Monica Studios' first game, but it's the game that gave us God of War 1 and 2, as Kinetica engine was later used in both games. But now, it's time to go from racing on walls to racing in a sandbox. It's time for an action-adventure game developed by DMA Design called Grand Theft Auto. The first game in the GTA series was released in November 1997 for MS-DOS and Windows. In December 1997, game came for the PlayStation, which is not how Rockstar does it right now. The game strips away all cinematic stuff, no elaborate cutscenes or hand-holding tutorials. Instead, I'm dropped directly into the city where phone booths are mission hubs and chaos is currency. From this top-down perspective, I have complete freedom to tackle missions in any order I choose, earning points through a variety of criminal activities like stealing cars, evading police chases, and systematically building reputation in the underworld. The gameplay revolves around accumulating points, often in the millions, to unlock new chapters and progress through 3 distinct fictional cities, each inspired by real-world locations: Liberty City, aka New York, San Andreas, aka San Francisco, and Vice City, aka Miami. All 3 cities later became the focus of future 3D games in the series, which shows how foundational the first game was to the GTA universe. Combat in GTA 1 is, well, let's just say, is not winning any awards for elegance. It's clunky, a bit unpredictable, and aiming feels like guesswork. We have got guns, explosions, flamethrowers, rocket launchers, and a wanted system that ramps up fast. It's messy, chaotic, and totally unhinged, just like other GTAs. Visually, it looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint. Tiny cars, little pixel dudes. It's also simple, but there is something gritty and raw in the style that just works. It doesn't feel fake, it feels like the soul of GTA. Fun fact, Grand Theft Auto began development as Race and Chase, in which players controlled a police officer pursuing criminals. But during development, a bug made police cars aggressively chase and ram the player's car, and testers loved it. So instead of fixing it, the developers leaned into the chaos and rewrote the game as a crime simulator. That bug accidentally gave birth to GTA. GTA's development was rocky. It spent years in development limbo and was nearly scrapped because publisher didn't think it would be successful. Internal disagreements, engine issues, and design overhauls plagued its early years. It took 4+ years to finish, a long time for a 1990s title, which feels very familiar. GTA 6 taking 13 years for development feels like a tradition at this point. From driving fast cars through chaotic city streets to piloting towering mechs on the battlefield, it's time to shift gears and dive into Shattered Steel. Long before Mass Effect and Dragon Age established BioWare as RPG royalty, the studio cuts its teeth on something completely different, a gritty mech combat game for MS-DOS in 1996. Shattered Steel dropped me into a desolate future where humanity teeters on the brink of extinction, spanning 5 distinct planets with roughly 20 missions each. The alien threat is brilliantly designed, a diverse array of enemies that blur the line between organic and mechanical. Spider-like SPs with their unsettling organic appearance, alongside slick mechanical wasp aircraft. As the campaign unfolds, the mystery deepens. Who controls these creatures? What drives their relentless assault? And how can humanity strike back? What truly elevates Shattered Steel above any mid-90s mech sims is its intelligent enemy AI. These aliens don't just charge blindly, they employ group tactics, execute strategic retreats under heavy fire, and adapt dynamically to my actions, creating combat that feels genuinely alive and unpredictable. While the controls feel clunky by today's standards, there is real weight and tactical depth here. It's not just arcade flying through battles. Instead, it's carefully managing weapon systems, positioning like a true mech pilot. The customization system offers a tantalizing preview of BioWare's future RPG mastery, swapping between lasers, missiles, and flamethrowers, adjusting shield configuration, and choosing chassis types with different mobility and stat profiles keep combat fresh and encourage experimentation with various playstyles. Perhaps most impressively, Shattered Steel features real-time deformable terrain explosion that actually reshapes the battlefield, creating craters and structural collapses that add genuine tactical consideration. This environmental destruction became especially crucial in the multiplayer, where both co-op and PvP modes overlap, demonstrated BioWare's ambitious vision for 1996. Shattered Steel never achieved blockbuster sales, but it established a crucial groundwork, proving that BioWare possessed the technical skill, creative range, and bold vision that would define their future. If Shattered Steel felt tough, this next game takes difficulty to a whole new level. In 1994, a small Japanese company that made nothing but business software up until that point saw an opportunity with the launch of the original PlayStation to try something completely different, and they did. The game Kingsfield, the company From Software, and while the game never released outside of Japan, it quietly became one of the most important blueprints in gaming history. Kingsfield is a first-person, fully 3D action RPG, released at a time when most console games still relied on 2D sprites and turn-based battles, which is why it was considered groundbreaking at the time. Kingsfield threw me into a dungeon with no map, no tutorials, and no mercy. I play as Jean Alfred Forrester, a lone warrior searching for his missing father in a dark underground tomb. There is no intro, no cutscenes, no quest log, just a slow, creeping descent into a dangerous and cryptic world. Combat is slow and deliberate. I can't just spam attacks. Every swing of the sword has a cooldown. There is a stamina bar that drains fast, enemies that hit harder than they look, and healing takes time, which means I have to plan every move carefully. Magic exists, but it's not flashy or overpowered. It's just another tool that demands timing and resource management. There is no pausing in the inventory either. If I need to heal or change gear, I do it in real time. The game punishes recklessness and rewards patience. What really gets me is the atmosphere. There is barely any music. Walking through silent corridors lit by flickering torches, always unsure of what's around the next corner. The sound design is eerie and minimal, and without a map, I'm forced to memorize where I have been. I constantly got lost, which was frustrating at times. I started noticing that reminded me of Dark Souls. The bonfire-like save points, the interconnected world design, the vague lore hidden in items, the poison swamps, even those creepy skeleton enemies. It all starts here. Kingsfield doesn't care about being accessible or flashy. It creates tension through isolation, fear through slowness, and challenges through honesty. Even though the controls are clunky and the visuals are primitive, the core experience still holds up. And if you're into Soulborne's games, it's amazing to see that this is where it all began. This is where the DNA comes from. If Kingsfield was about inching through darkness with every step feeling like life or death, then the next game is the exact opposite. A pure arcade reflex test where all that matters is timing, speed, and a little round ball bouncing across the screen. Gnop was the first computer game created by Bungie Studios. Alex Seropian authored the game in 1990, almost a year before Bungie's official incorporation. A simple Pong clone with added sound and graphics, written and released nearly 20 years after the original. Gnop is simply Pong spelled backwards, and it was only available on Mac computers. The gameplay of Gnop is simple and familiar, a direct homage to the arcade classic. Control a pedal on one side of the screen, trying to bounce a ball back and forth against an opposing pedal. What made Gnop slightly different was that unlike the original Pong, the ball moved from right to left instead of the traditional left to right, a clever nod to its reverse name. The objective is the same: prevent the ball from getting past your pedal while trying to score against your opponent. Another thing that differs from Pong is the scoring system, which works like volleyball. Only the player who serves the ball can score a point. If the server wins the rally, they earn a point and serve again. But if the opponent wins the rally, they don't score. They just gain the right to serve curve. This makes Gnop more strategic than traditional Pong. Despite its humble origins and essentially a practice game for Alex, Gnop served as the foundation stone for what would eventually become one of gaming's most influential studios. Now it's time to go from a dot ball to football. It's time to go from Gnop to Gridiron. Gridiron was released in 1986 by the newly formed Bethesda Softworks, created by MIT graduate Christopher Weaver. What made this game revolutionary wasn't just its football simulation, it was the perspective it offered players. Rather than controlling a player running down the field, I take on a role of a coach standing on the sidelines, calling plays and making split-second decisions, watching colored dots move across the screen in a top-down view, where every tactical choice determines whether the team succeeds or fails. It's not about button mashing or quick reflexes, it's pure strategy. Reading the field, adjusting the game plan in real time, which feels more like chess than a traditional sport game. But here's where Gridiron truly broke new ground. The special NFL data disk that came with the game contained real player statistics, allowing authentic NFL player data to influence matches. This wasn't just some generic football simulation, it was working with the real strength and weaknesses of actual professional athletes. Bethesda was already thinking about how to bridge the gap between virtual gaming and the real world sport data back in 1986. In Gridiron, losing a player can have long-term consequences that affect your entire season strategy. Another game from 1986 that featured devastating long-term consequences for losing character was Zombi, notably one of the few Ubisoft games without bugs and microtransactions. Zombi is a first-person action-adventure game heavily inspired by George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. I'm dropped into a zombie-infested shopping mall where survival depends on scavenging supplies, managing resources, and making brutal decisions that could mean life or death. The game put me in control of 4 unique characters, each with their own inventory and health. As I explored the mall through a point-and-click interface with static first-person visuals that feel incredibly immersive and ambitious for 1986. The gameplay brilliantly blends survival horror with adventure and light RPG mechanics. But here's where Zombie truly shines. Its revolutionary permadeath system means that when one of your character dies, they don't just simply disappear. Instead, they return as a zombie, roaming the exact room where they met their end. Zombie stands as a genre-blending trailblazer so far ahead of its time that its influences remain strong enough for Ubisoft to create Zombie U in 2012, a spiritual successor that revived and modernized this original core concept for a new generation. And now it's time to grow from the mall to the classroom with this next game called Math Jam. Math Jam was released in 1986 for DOS by Jam Software, which would later become Naughty Dog. Jam stands for Jason and Andy's Magic, the two co-founders. Math Jam was a fast-paced educational arcade game that challenged students to solve arithmetic problems in real time while navigating animated obstacles. Unfortunately, since the original Math Jam has been lost to time, I had AI recreate what it might have looked like based on available historical data, and here's what it came up with. Talking about the games that don't exist anymore, the last game on the list is EVR Race. It comes from Nintendo way back in 1975. It featured pre-recorded video footage rather than a real-time computer graphics, making it radically different from other games of the era. Up to 6 players could participate by placing bets on which horse would win, and the mechanic would then play a randomly selected race video to reveal the outcome, making it feel more like a digital horse racing simulator or an early video lottery machine. Players didn't control the horses, they engaged with the game through prediction and anticipation. The cabinet itself was a massive and mechanically complex, which led to frequent breakdowns and taught Nintendo early lessons about the challenges of maintaining arcade hardware. Today, these pioneering machines have vanished entirely, making EVR Race a true piece of lost gaming history. Having played these games, I have come to see that many titles weren't just made for profit, they were driven by ambition, creativity, and the courage to innovate in the face of uncertainty. And it made me realize, don't be afraid to start something new. Start small, start bold.